Welcome everyone to week 27 of the daily / weekly race guide. 3 fairly unique and potentially quite fun races actually this week. I enjoyed all 3 of them, although I absolutely plebbed the last one, so stay tuned for that. But let's jump to race 8 first of all, and let's have a look at it in a little bit more detail. Welcome to Autopolis then. In fact, it's Autopolis short. We're actually skipping out half the circuit as well here. But that's because it's race A and we are in road cars. But before we get to them, let's look at the race details. So it's 4 laps in length and you are on a grid start, which you will need traction control for. Even though we're in N100, you still need traction control. In terms of the tyres, we are on Comfort Softs, which we haven't used before or in quite a while. In terms of doing this daily race guide, I've not really seen. And of course, fuel and tyre wears ×0. I just put that on there just to confirm to you folks that it's still the same. Now, in terms of the cars, we have a choice of 3, and Gran Turismo supplies these for you, so you don't even have to go and buy them. I had to buy them just for the footage, believe it or not. But first of all, we have the Mazda de Mio, so literally going back to the Sunday Cup days of the classic Gran Turismo, although this is the new version at the moment, the 2015 car. We then have the Suzuki Swift, obviously a big favourite to a lot of people, very nice handling, and it's normally the car of choice in these terms of races. However, the king of kings in this one is the Honda Fit Hybrid, and the reason it's the king of kings in terms of this race is because of that hybrid system. It absolutely flies in terms of acceleration, so that is the car you should pick in terms of the race. Speaking of the race, let's jump to that now and I'll talk you through some tips and tricks in the race. So here we are revving the nuts out the car, and we almost forget traction control. We don't though. Be very careful of this. You notice how I didn't change gear that quickly? Be very careful of that. As we continue on now, you're going to see the Suzuki Swift, the only one in this race, just get absolutely dominated by the acceleration. That hybrid system coming into play there, and everybody just flies away. Now, the Suzuki Swift driver does something very good here. I always stay to the inside, stay safe. Goes around the outside, goes for that risk, actually gets the reward there, gets a couple of positions. So, you know, fair play to that driver there for taking that risk. Now, I'll talk you through some little tips here on this first lap, and then I'm going to show you a very key brake mark on turn number 1. As we continue on down here, because the cones are useless, by the way, so you'll notice there. So we come down here, lots of overtaking moves will happen into this corner. Be very careful being knocked out wide. I see that a few times in this race as we continue through to the left-hander here. Double left, and then into this hairpin. Again, I thought at this point, when I saw the Suzuki Swift driver do it, I thought, okay, I'll go around the outside here. Plus, the Suzuki's going to have slow acceleration, so that's why I go to the outside here. And again, you can see this acceleration just coming into play with that hybrid system, so just be careful of that. So coming to the left now, and you can see we can just hug the inside here. It's fairly flat. I just lifted a little bit because I had a tighter line into the corner. I'm going to head up towards the end of the circuit now. This is towards the last corner, of course, and this is a key braking zone as well. For this, I would play it safe on the inside at this point. It's just a lot safer because if you're going to get hit on the outside, I saw a few penalties from being hit on the outside. So if you stick on the inside, you're not going to get hit off as the car behind did, and you could continue on racing. Now, I'm going to have a good run on these 2 people in front of me. This Norwegian on the right, the Frenchman on the left. But I can't really do much about it because I need that slipstream and everyone's staying to the right hand side. So I come in behind here and I'm just getting a little bit of more of a launch on the car in front of me. So then I go, okay, I'm going to go to the left now because I can see the slipstream as we go there, and he just comes in front of me. Very risky move, but you know, it's fine for now. But those 2 go side by side, and this is why you don't stay on the outside, because you just get hit off like that and then rip with the old dirty tyres there, folks. So I lose a few positions, about to lose another one, and I'm going to go off as well at the next corner because, of course, dirty tyres. They are horrible in this car, so do try and avoid that if you can. Getting dirty tyres, as you're about to see here, I'm just understeering off to Narnia, the same as the Suzuki Swift driver. But even so, we could continue on here. We have a nice little race with the Brit behind me. I'm just aware of where he is on the circuit, or she, because that's why I'm just giving room there. You know, if they're going to go for that inside, they've got the room there. I'm giving them space. We can continue on. But let's talk about brake markers on this one. I don't talk about brake markers too often in this, and as it's a guide, I thought I would. So you can see cones useless here. Start the curve there for the braking zone on this last corner. Do it in 3rd gear, not 4th as I did there. That just cost me a little bit of time there in that last corner. But the critical one here is turn number 1, because I looked at it and was like, well, those cones are pretty useless, and my normal brake marker is pretty useless, which is obviously the colour change on the barrier. You can see we get a fastest lap there. So when you come down towards turn number 1, you want to focus your attention on the right-hand side. The load of parked cars, okay? Now, we will stop the footage here. So you can see the parked cars there. One in particular, which is very obvious, the van. Use that as your brake marker. So when you get to that van, hit the brakes and then roll off the brakes to avoid any really crazy weight transfer. And what you should find then is that the car is stable and goes through the corner normally. Now the corner is going to be 4th gear, so just do that. And that is it in terms of this race guide. There's not much more to it really. It's a very simple course, very simple cars as well. And a bit of a launch there by the Insane Moroccan. Not like, it's just a mistake and pinball physics there, and Insane Moroccan did apologise for that afterwards, and I apologise for that as well, because I thought that was borderline by myself in terms of cleanliness. But it's nice to see that, you know, sportsmanship at the end of the race. People were apologising to each other, so, you know, shout out to everybody in this race for doing that. I think it was fairly clean in the grand scheme of it. Did little nudges here and there, but, you know, it is what it is. It's racing at the end of the day. See, we've got side by side in this left-hander. That's it in terms of race A. Let's jump to race B now. Let's have a look at that in a little bit more detail. We're staying in Japan then for race B as we race at Fuji International Speedway. Although we are only racing the short circuit, my actual favourite, versus the one with the chicane. Let's give you a bit more about the race details before we jump to the car in question. It's 4 laps this race and we have a rolling start, but as always with the rolling starts at Fuji, don't have to worry about traction control or anything, just foot to the floor, off you go. Now, racing hard tyres as we are in a race car. Now, what race car are we in, you are probably wondering? Well, we have a VW Cup on our hands because it's a one-mate race and we are in the VW Scirocco Group 4 car, so it's an FF car, so you're going to have to manage that understeer. But it's kind of a fun race as well. Let's jump to the race now and I'll give you a few tips and tricks. So here we are at the start of the race. Brake balance on +5. Now I have said this previously in other guides. If you struggle with the braking with +5 in an FF car, with the rear coming out, etc., put it to +3. That is a better alternative. That was the suggestion by Andy, who mentioned it a few daily race guides ago. So of course here at the start, nothing really dramatic. It's line astern, heading towards turn 1. Obviously, you've got to be a bit aware here that heading towards turn 1, you're going to have the slipstream, but you'll have been practicing lap after lap anyway. So you're going to reach around about where you would normally be on speed anyway. So I brake around where you should do. And you can see that works out fine with just one driver there, running a little bit deep there. But everybody seems to get through there. Happy days. No real drama there at all. As you head towards this next turn, you want to be looking on the right hand side. There's little orange tabs. You're on that one there. And then brake 4th gear and go through the corner. Obviously I get delayed here a little bit because I can't go into the back of Stormfly. So when I'm looking for a move here and looking on this corner, never brake on this corner if you can avoid it. I brake there to try and get the move done because I could see it happening. Normally you stay in 5th, just drop to 4th, the car should just turn and just come off the accelerator. See Stormfly there. I knew Stormfly was going to go deep there, so that's why I just waited for the out braking and sort of undercut there. As you head down to this turn here, the start of the Dunlop sign on the right hand side is your brake marker, okay? You can just see it on the right there, the Dunlop sign. This game's sponsored by Michelin, so I'm not sure why we've got so many Dunlop signs in. But even so, you use to start the Dunlop sign on the right hand side. So you can see lots of action up ahead. We're going to get in the thick of this very, very soon and show you some of the actual action, because I know you guys like to see some of the action as well during these races. As we come through here now, we're right on the back of this Truly train, heading towards the last corner. Apologies if you heard the mouse there, by the way. I was just zooming out slightly as we hit this right-hander. Now, I knew exactly what I was doing here. A lot of people go tight there, but they run deep, and you can see a couple of cars up ahead running deep as well. Now, they're going to have dirt on their tyres, so they need to really, really think about turn 1. Now, we have to think about turn 1 in terms of having slipstream. It's not something you can practice, so just be aware of this as you head there. You know, you can't brake where you normally brake in time trial. You're carrying more speed than normal. If you went off in the last corner, you're going to have to brake even earlier because you're going to have dirt on your tyres. We're going to hit that braking zone there at the cones this time. You see a couple of people are going to run a bit deep there and go wide, so we can get another couple more positions. Happy, happy, happy days. We're moving up this grid very nicely. But there's a few tips in terms of that. So we advance a little bit further on in the lap, and you're going to see a little bit of carnage now. You like a bit of drama, don't you? So here we go. Heading towards this right-hander. Just broke just before the start of the Dunlop sign there because I had a lot of slipstream. You're going to see the South African absolutely launch it down the inside of the finish driver. Boom! That's a little bit of a takeout. So poor Shine now trying to recover from that. It gets hit by the Frenchman and myself slightly there as we come through his left-hander. Trying to keep it clean though, Shine. So shout out to you, Shine Pride. Trying to give space, trying to keep clean. shout out, my friend. Absolute shout out as we come into this right-hander now. And through we go. So we gain another position there. We'll continue on to this start-finish straight. Penalties. Avoid getting penalties, of course, because the penalty zone is here, which is going to cost you a lot of time. As you can see, moves are happening up ahead. Now, if it's a 0.5-second penalty, it's not the end of the world. However, if it's anything more, you're really going to suffer. It's going to exponentially increase the problem of having a penalty. If that even made any English sense whatsoever. As we come down towards turn 1, you're going to see 3 wide here. You can do 3 wide. This is a case of 2 people going for the launch down the inside, which didn't really work out for the driver on the left. So we're going to come on the inside of both of those. And we're going to get another position here because we're just going to have the slipstream. I was a little bit worried about the Italian going for the move here, so I break a little bit later than I should have, which is why I understeered a little bit. But he doesn't and falls in behind. So we can continue on racing as we advance a bit further ahead. Of course, drama there. As another Italian goes down the inside of a Frenchman. And we have the South African here who's just going to push somebody a little bit out wide there. Just broke a little bit too late. Going to get the move done. That's a push to pass. I have to try and avoid the Frenchman there. I could have absolutely T-boned them to no idea. That is for sure. As we then hit the right-hander. Which again, I was trying to go for the cutback. But it didn't really work there. I just tapped the back of the French driver. And we're going to continue on. Lots of penalties now. You're seeing this. So you can see the impact of a 2-second penalty coming up there. Slowed down to absolutely nothing in terms of speed. Going to head towards the back of the pack there, 100% by the end of the straight. Very, very severe penalty zone. So continue on to turn 1. Obviously, we did 3 wide last. Oh, we saw people do 3 wide last time. We're going to try 3 wide now. So we come into this braking zone. I was expecting people to outbrake themselves, but they didn't. And I stopped it bang on point there. I thought I was very clean by myself to go down the inside on a 3 wide, but I'm not sure the South African agreed there for some reason. Although he had even more space on the left. As we're about to see here, so we're side by side, so at this point I'm going to give up this position, and I see the radar, I'm like, okay, I'll try and avoid that as best as possible. So the South African pushes the French driver off there, and we're going to get hit again here from behind, so now we're just trying to avoid all the carnage, try and maintain some form of position as we look down the inside here into the braking zone. I knew I was going to get my nose cut off there, so I tried to back out of it. It's just an inevitable thing. You can start to read drivers very quickly where they outbrake themselves, etc. I knew that was going to happen in terms of cutting my nose off. Continue on all the same. I know I'm going to get this position, 2.5-second penalty. But the minute I saw the South African outbrake themselves there, I knew they were going off, and I knew this position was mine then, even before the penalty zone, as you're about to see. So we're going to come into this right-hander there. They have dirty tyres, of course, so they're going to be really slow through here. So I'm going to stick it to the outside. I know they're going to go defensive here. I've seen that from their driving. I'm just going to do the cutback. Nice and easy. I know they're going to run wide. It's all said and done there at that point. So at this point, I know that potentially I could get taken out. So I'm just going to stick to the middle and on the inside. I don't get taken out or anything like that. So obviously the South African's not trying to take people out. It's just mistakes into mistakes into mistakes there. But even so, we come away with 6th position. So that's what race B. I think that's quite a fun race, to be honest. I think you can have some good races here in terms of the Scirocco. So let's jump to race C now, and let's have a look at that in a little bit more detail. Welcome then to Spain and Catalunya. What a circuit this is. This is one of my favourite circuits, of course. And we're in one of our favourite combos, but we'll talk about that in just a second. Let's have a look at the race details then. We have 10 laps here at Catalunya, and it is a rolling start, so you're going to have to be very careful with this rolling start. You can start well before the chicane in terms of 20th, so, you know, traction control at the start, probably a worthwhile decision to make. In terms of tyres, it is racing hard tyres. Fuel usage is ×2, so while you're waiting to start the race, make sure your foot is to the floor. And tyre wear is ×6, but because we're on racing hard tyres, it just gets a little bit sketchy towards the end if you're on the no stop, but you could do a 1 stop. And that also depends on the car you're in, because some cars won't get sketchy and some cars will. So what cars are we in? Well, we're in Group 3, of course. Now, that means you can pick any car you like for this race. It's a fairly balanced race. You know, enjoy the car you like to race, and I'm sure you'll have a good race. So with that in mind, I'm just going to show you my favourite car at the moment, of course, and that is the Audi R8 Group 3 car. Now, in theory, the handling cars may be slightly better here, but then you've got tyre wear to take into effect. You got the last chicane, which is a bit dodgy for MR cars. So it's, you know, it's a balancing act. Which one would you like to race in terms of cars and stability and whether it's faster than the others? But generally speaking, MR cars are going to be slightly better here, which is why I'm with the Audi. Without further ado though, let's go to the race and let's have a look at a few tips, tricks, and me plebbing the race completely. Not once, but twice. So here we are, rolling start, and we're about to start as well. This is how far back you start when you're in 20th place. I really do hate Catalunya for a rolling start. It doesn't work out very well. It's just not very good. So what's that? 17th, 16th, 15th, 14th, potentially 13th is affected there. So quite a lot. You see a lot of traction control on. And while it is slower, it just helps with the start. And it's something I do recommend every single time, because you're going to have cold tyres and you're making a corner and you're not in any rhythm of any kind at all. But anyway, we continue on here. Obviously, we've dropped back quite a lot there because of where we started. But we can make all that time up during the race. You can see I'm warming up my tyres here. You might find that to do that a little bit more, or earlier on in the straight, basically, do it as much as you can. You'll see that in the top 16 Superstar races, constant weaving. Because in top 16, you start even further back. You start on the back straight in terms of the rolling start. It really is a long, long rolling start. But even so, going through here, just be careful of your cold tyres initially in whichever car you're in, and just settle into a decent race here. So coming into this right-hander now, we are catching people very quickly. Now, in this race, Catalunya Group 3 is one of my best combos. I'm always very good here. I'm always very quick here. So I am actually having to, in this race, we see Carlito go off there, not the WWE wrestler. This is a South African racer, not the American. Yeah, during this race, I found myself having to... Oh, actually, the Spanish driver just did something you shouldn't do, which is take too much curb. But you'll notice here, this Spanish driver braked a lot for this corner. Now, I found myself being quite frustrated during this race because I couldn't take my normal lines and I couldn't do the normal things I could do in the race. I had to be careful. You see, the Spaniard broke really early there, and we had a sudden dive down the inside to get that place. So that was kind of a nice move, I suppose. But yeah, I found myself getting very frustrated because I was having to slam on quite a lot to avoid other people. Now, obviously, I'm on my alternative account. It shouldn't happen as much in the split that I should be in. But even so, just keep that in mind. If you're very used to a given circuit, just be careful. Other drivers may not necessarily be used to it. They will take different lines, different brake markers, you know, different braking points in itself. And you just have to be careful of that. So I do try a lot in these to avoid hitting drivers where I can, because I am on an alternative account. It is slowly building DR, so I'll eventually be in the top split in these races, given some time. Heading down towards turn 1, be careful of slipstreams. The cones are the braking marker for when you have slipstream and not beforehand. Now, a good place to overtake here is this right-hander and just after it. So you can see Hunter here is an FR car, the Dodge. Dodge is also a very good car here. But I'm in a handling car, so I try and get on the inside. And you're going to just see an indicator there. That tells me that Hunter's giving me the position at that point. But even so, I brake and drop to second gear here. And as I go around here, it's happy days. Now, if you are using the Audi R8, I recommend -3 in terms of brake balance. It is sort of the best point of the car. When you're at -5, the front seems to lock a lot more now in the game. So -3 seems the best part here. So we're going to race against Diogo now, and I got quite frustrated with this as well. So Diogo is defensive, all very well, fairly well and clean. And as we come through here, slight tap, nothing major. But here, just look at that, straightens his wheel up there and completely pushes me out to the side of the track. I wasn't too pleased with that, if I'm honest. Could have easily kept that position without doing that, but even so, we're going to keep pushing on. But yes, I was very frustrated. So we continue on a bit further, and then we're still behind Diogo here. But we're going to try the same move that we did earlier. Diogo's going to try and cover this off, though, so I think, okay, that's fine. I'm going to go to the left. And then we get hit here as well. So, yes. I sort of turned towards the corner there. Diogo was going straight, so... yeah, I was a bit frustrated, but we got past in the end, so we can continue on racing. So, be careful of penalties. So, this one is very sketchy. He goes to avoid that car, then goes back to the racing line. I have to take avoid an action there. Fortunately, we do avoid all cars there and make the corner. But, yeah, just be careful about changing lines after a penalty. Keep to your line. If you're taking a penalty, keep to your line. Let other drivers from behind take their own line there. Don't try and, you know, go left, then right, then left, then right. It can cause carnage. We're up to P12 at this point. It's going quite well, this race, isn't it, really? I'm not showing you the plebby moments yet, but don't worry, they're coming as we get behind Lady Geek here. So maybe a female racer, so shout out for that, because obviously we need more females in the racing. It'll be good for the sport. Actually, wax on their indicator there. So, I mean, thank you for that, but you don't have to let me go, you know. You can have a good race with me, but if you're trying to race smart and try and go getting further ahead, then I suppose fair game. As we continue on now, fast forward in here as we catch up to the McLaren F1. I'm sure Ghostly will be happy in the comments that there's a McLaren F1 in this one. But I wasn't so happy because this car was all over the place. And it was very hard to try and get past, if I'm honest. So heading up here, again, it's going to be a sort of slam on there. Look at that, woof. Like, I'll explain, I'll do a lap guide at the end of this video in terms of Catalunya. You do not slam on there at all, ever, in any car, ever in the history. So just keeping a mind open for that when we look at the track guide in a little bit. Going through there, same thing happened again, and I was much more aware of it. Sort of that line completely closing. Again, slamming on that corner. You don't slam on for that corner at all. So I was getting a bit, you know, like, sort of like, whoa. So I was hoping to try and get past. That car's too fast in a straight line. Too in a straight line. So I think, oh, excellent. Here we go. Got my move here. And just covers me off there and pushes me onto the grass. So PLEB moment number 1. Hunter decides to follow me to not leave me on my own there. So thank you very much for that, Hunter. But yeah, we're going to head towards the pits now. I just think, okay, I'll have a bit of fun here. Because otherwise I've got dirt on my tyres anyway. And I've got to spend like 3 corners trying to get the dirt off. So we continue on here, and we're on lap number 8 now. And I'm going to show you another bug. So going through here, the curb grabbed me and chucked me to Narnia there. And it's a known problem in the game. It's actually a physics issue. I believe PD have investigated that. It happens at number tracks, Catalunya, Red Bull Ring, and I think there's Fuji as well. But essentially, just be careful at exit. So, you know, if you're going to use the curb, use a lot of it or not at all. And make sure you're driving straight. But anyway, so we're going to get onto a flying lap now, and I'm going to show you or talk about some of the braking points here, because we've had a lot of drama there, a lot of PLEB moments. But where do you brake? So coming towards turn 1, it's the black flag marker on the left there. That's your brake marker for this turn. Now I keep it in 3rd gear here. 2nd will get your oversteering a little bit in the Audi. Keep it in 3rd, it'll stop that oversteer. I'm coming through here again. I'm going to go for the move here. So you always want to keep it quite tight, and if you can really notice it, the corner starts to straighten up. The minute it starts to do that, accelerate through the corner. So we head towards this right-hander here. Just before the bridge, you're going to brake. 2nd gear corner here for the Audi. Keep it tight, and once you're, you know, settled with the car, accelerate out. You can see I've got a little bit of oversteer, but nothing major. And you're looking for the tufts of grass on the right-hand side there in terms of Catalunya. As we chuck it into the left here, 2nd gear through, there we go. Don't have to worry about this curb as much, but I do believe the physics problem is there as well. Heading towards this one, it's to start the curbing, is your brake marker, and I go to 2nd gear here, very late on, just to avoid any weight transition. We get a bit of oversteer there, happy days. This one, it's a dab of the brakes and chuck it in and balance the throttle here. Once you clip that curb, you should be able to accelerate through the corner, absolutely no problem there, as we continue on now towards this left-hander. Flag marker on the right-hand side, it's near the 100-meter board. You brake and you drop it to 1st gear here. And we just missed the apex slightly there. Accelerate through the corner, and you can accelerate all the way through this one as well. And then it's just a dab of the brakes into the right here. And you notice how I'm just trail braking, losing that speed. It's a long corner. Don't slam on. It's never good to slam on. Avoid staying on the AstroTurf on the left. It's quite slippy. So we hit the right. You can use that sausage actually. And then we hit the left there. The shadow is your brake marker. Try and cover the sausage with your car. You know, get it in the center of your car. We accelerate towards the line now. This is actually going to be the fastest lap of the race as well. It's a 46 dead, I believe, but we can easily get in the 45s in this car in race performance, race trim. That's going to be it for this week, folks, in terms of the daily/weekly race guide. I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks very much for watching, and I will see you in another video or live stream very soon.